Switching gear, if anyone else is coaching Hawthorn right now, how do we feel about them?
Well, they'd be under the most pressure in the game.
So the fact that Alistair has won 4 times has bought them a lot of cover for the way they're going about it. How much worse is to come? Are they at rock bottom yet, or do you think there's still time? Do you think they're still on the progression down? Where do you see them in the arc?
Well, I think in the race to the premiership, they're 18th because they haven't been accepting of where they needed to be. You can see it there, they're 17th on the ladder. The 2 games they have won have been by very slim margins. They could easily be winless in this game. The Crows should have beaten them in Tassie. They're miles away from winning a premiership. They're the furthest team away.
So,
the
Kane,
crowd numbers are
they play
concerning.
North this week, and you think they're further away than North?
I think they may win this week. In fact, I'd tip them to win. Yeah. But in terms of the race to the premiership, at least North know where they are and they've prioritised youth.
They don't concede that, Hawthorn.
They haven't started a rebuild that needed to happen 3 years ago at Hawthorn, and I know you've been strong on it, Lordo, so that's why I say they're the furthest team right now from winning a premiership.
The trade-off's 4 flags, though. I know we can't look back, but the trade-off is they have been successful.
Hats off to you, Clarko, and you'll go down as one of the greats for that. But do you think that matters to the new players that are coming through now, or to the Hawthorn fans that aren't turning up at the moment? You've got to move on. You've got to regenerate. Yep. You've got to do what Melbourne have done.
How long does it buy you, do you think, 4 flags? How many years of goodwill?
Probably an extra 5, to be honest. But I personally think that they need to get Sam Mitchell in the chair sooner rather than later. And that's absolutely no disrespect to Alistair Clarkson, who's been one of the greats. But I agree with you. I think fresh blood is needed.
Well, it's interesting that Jeff Kennett's comments on Sam Mitchell were fascinating on the weekend, and we'll take a look at them here as we go. He said, Sam is important to us. I hope one day he will be our senior coach, but he might be offered another job in basically what he's saying. We've agreed with Alistair and his management. The second quote caught my attention as well, that we'll wait until the end of the year before discussing his future. Now, he's out of contract, Alistair, at the end of next year.
What would you do, Hutchie? You've got an eye for these things. Sam Mitchell is their guy, but you've got Clarko sitting there as the elephant in the room. How do you manage it?
Well, you've got to make, at the moment, they're cake and eat it. You've got to make the call. You've got to say, Alistair's our guy and he's a +4, or Alistair, it's come to the end and let's finish the year early. It's only what...
Would you be worried about losing Mitchell as a senior coach to another club?
No, because I think there's enough of that calibre of person around to consider in your next coach. I don't think it's a danger to...
What about Hutchie? If they believe Mitchell is their man, it's not probably a great time to be coaching Hawthorn now if you're Sam Mitchell, a young coach, and you're losing week after week. If Alistair Clarkson, they say, Alistair, we need you to keep putting the kids in, but it's going to be paying for a while, but at the end of next year, Sam Mitchell takes over. So there might be another 30 games left for Clarkson, and then Sam Mitchell takes over from there.
And this goes 2 ways. So I read that quote when Jeff said they'd agree to talk about the end of the year, as Alistair will want to decide too whether he's the sort of guy, if he would just walk in and say, well, it's been good, let me go and do something else. 17 years is a long time. It's getting Shooty-esque, isn't it, in its run. I wouldn't be surprised if he coaches elsewhere.
Mitchell to Collingwood makes sense as well. I think if they did move on from Nathan Buckley, I think the Mitchell name and what they're after...
Big risk for the Pies,
a big name. It would be, but as is any untried coach.
True.
The way they're playing is interesting. So for all of their issues, you've always been able to identify Alistair's trademark and the way they play and the method. It was the first time I've heard someone... question that almost on the weekend with Jordan Lewis, the former premiership player, saying this, and then Alistair's response.
I'm looking at their youth and I can't see anything to cling on to. It was hard to watch, to be honest. They've got no style in which they play. They were quite messy. For me, there was just nothing to take home and to tell the kids this is what we saw from a Hawthorn player today.
Gunston's a high-quality player, Amir is a high-quality player for us, Sicily's a high-quality player for us. So in each part of the ground, those guys are missing. Guys that you recruited your club that really should stiffen you up a little bit in terms of your depth with Patton and Scully, and they, for various reasons, are no longer listed to our club. So just when we're trying to find our way as a club, you need your depth, and the really good clubs cover it pretty well, and we're not covering it as well as we'd like at the minute.
For the first time in a long time, they've got a decent draft hand, but what I think they need to do is what Melbourne did 2 years ago and turn those picks, so 2 and 21, whether you trade back from 2 and go to like an 8 and get 2 picks inside 10 to 12, like Cozzy Pickett and Luke Jackson, that can turn your club.
But that is linked to the coaching decision.
Absolutely.
If you were going to go and draft...
Because he'd trade them. He'd trade some of those picks.
He's been in there now. You've got to... If Alistair is going to be the coach, they've got to commit to him long term and tell him that the strategy, tell him, not him tell them, that the strategy is to draft accordingly and bring talent in.